What's going on, people? I'm making this video to discuss how marriage, or the quote unquote marriage institution, no longer holds value and is no longer sacred. And I'm not going to just put it on women or men, because at the end of the day, it takes a man and a woman equally to prosper, to flourish, and to make the marriage work. So I'm going to give my unbiased opinion, and I'm going to hold both parties accountable. Some people may not agree with it, but it is what it is. But nevertheless, so the society that we live in today does not value marriage anymore. The divorce rates are really high because people don't take the vows serious, as far as to love, to honor, to cherish, until death do you part. Nowadays, the first sign of trouble, the first sign of confrontation, the first sign of friction, and people are ready to run and get a divorce. And what a lot of people fail to realize is, and this is just my opinion, personally. Before you get married, you need to go through the courting process. A lot of people don't do that anymore. They just jump into a relationship. They jump in the bed and, call it a day. Instead of taking their time and waiting to introduce intimacy into the relationship before getting married, is just bad. People nowadays need to take their time, court one another, have premarital counseling before you make that commitment in front of God. Because when you exchange those vows to one another, you're not only exchanging the vows in between you and that person, but you are exchanging vows with the Father himself. And not only are you exchanging vows with the Father himself, but you're making a covenant in between you, your spouse, and the Father. And the Father needs to be the head of that marriage, because if he is not, your marriage is doomed to fail. So in other words, Father God, or God, needs to be the head, and y'all need to be the tails. The way the pecking order of things are that goes with the Father is the Father, husband, wife, and then children, in that order. You can't sit there and, just because you have a disagreement, or just because you're not speaking to one another, or just because you're not liking one another at the moment, doesn't constitute you running off and getting a divorce. Because in the eyes of the Father, the only way that he will endorse or accept divorce is if your spouse cheats on you. Then you are within your rights, and you have grounds to go and get a divorce. Now, also, the Father doesn't want you to be in a marriage where you're being physically abused. The Father doesn't want that. It doesn't say it in the Bible that gives you grounds for a divorce, but the Father does not want you to be in a abusive relationship where your spouse is putting hands on you. Again, you need to court one another. You need to have at least a year or more engagement to get to know one another. But just know that the work doesn't start the work doesn't start until you actually are married. That's when the hard part starts. Being in a marriage and cohabitating and getting along and flowing as a family unit or as a husband and wife is not easy. And it's not meant to be easy. It's not for the faint-hearted. But you need to take that covenant very, very seriously. And before you make that covenant in between you, that person, and God, you need to really do some soul searching and ask yourself, am I really ready to commit myself to that person for the rest of my life? Through the good, through the bad, through the ugly, through the poor, through the rich, through the arguments, through the financial strain, through whatever life throws your ways. So with that being said, we need to do better. And we need to stop taking the institution of marriage as a joke. We need to stop it because it is a serious thing. Because you're not just getting married to that person, you're getting married to the Father. And Father, or God, takes that marriage covenant seriously. He is not a covenant breaker, and neither should you be. If you aren't ready or mentally mature to commit yourself to a covenant for the rest of your life, then don't get married. And also, don't have premarital relations before you get married. You need to abstain. You need to abstain. With all that being said, I hope you like the message. And as always, you have a blessed night, day, evening, or afternoon, wherever you may be.